Hello, Ren of Taurus Rising, back with you again for our weekly Wellness with Tarot, continuing our Fool's Journey series. We just had the Yule, or the solstice, earlier this week, and this week we're moving into Christmas. Here in the Northern Hemisphere, it's winter now, and it is Christmas week, so it's that kind of week where lots of people are celebrating. I decided to wear red and my Christmas bows, my Christmas earrings today to celebrate. But anyway, moving on to our card for the day, our card for the week. Continuing our Fool's Journey series, the Fool arrives today at the moon. Love this card. This card correlates with the sign of Pisces, or for some people. Some people find that correlation. Some decks will even say that if they include like a astrological sort of association. So Pisces is often associated with this card. I suppose you could also associate it with the sign of Cancer, which is also a water sign, because the moon rules Cancer. But either way, it's very watery. It also makes me think of the High Priestess. I feel like it's sort of a sister card to the High Priestess, because the High Priestess card is about intuition, kind of looking beyond the veil. And the moon card is also about that, intuition and hidden truths, right? Like if you look at here, the symbolism here is there's a creature, I want to say it's a scorpion, coming out of the water, and then we've got the dogs or wolves, I suppose, howling at the moon. So I also really think of cycles in nature, just the natural cycles that in the natural world with this card, because the moon is in cycles, and also nature just follows its own, gravity. It's the natural forces that just happen without us humans having to do anything about it, and instincts. Also, the wolves have this instinct to howl at the moon. So, just natural impulse, but hidden truths, nature, hidden forces, really hidden forces. Because for us. Or I should speak for myself, for me, when I think of nature and the natural forces of just weather and earthquakes and just those things that happen, they're to some degree we can forecast them, we can predict, but they're hidden from us, really. We witness them, we observe. So this card, I think there's a lot to it, but just really intuition, hidden truths, nature, water. I think water signs in astrology, especially Pisces and Cancer, and intuition, just like the things that are unseen, is really what this card is all about. Sort of the darker sides of things, or the shadow, perhaps you could see the things that we just don't see at face value all the time. We have to look a little bit deeper, and that is our card of the Fool's Journey for this week. So we ask ourselves, or I ask the tarot, where do we need moon energy? Where do we need the moon energy in our lives? Right now, the moon, we just had a new moon. So I guess we're moving into a waning crescent. If you think about moon cycles, the new moon is sort of about intentions, and the full moon is about kind of releasing those intentions, like the manifestation, the cultivation of the thing you've been calling forth. So just a little moon related stuff, especially since that is our card of the day, or of the week. And so this moon, this is from the Radiant Rider-Waite deck, and for the reading, I'm using good old Ethereal Visions deck. I wanted to just use one that had more traditional kind of imagery today. I felt called to do that instead of using more of one of the modern decks. All right. Where do we need the wisdom, the energy of the moon card in our lives? And I'm feeling this little area over here of cards speaking to me. I had a feeling this was going to happen. I had a feeling that we were going to get another major arcana card, which we did. We have got the Emperor reversed, And we've already visited the Emperor in our Fool's Journey, but circling back for a little reprise, I suppose. So the Emperor, trying to try not to get the glare. The Emperor is about structure, discipline. Think like Capricorn, I guess. The Capricorn of the tarot. Working hard, results, you know. We need Capricorn energy. We all need that in our lives because we got to get shit done, you know. You can, you know, in terms of like gender, you could kind of think of this as a very masculine card, very like that do energy. Also affiliated with, I suppose you could affiliate this card with Aries, I think, because there's the ram, or even Taurus, but very like fiery but stubborn energy. Like get shit done. It must be done. Maybe even some rigidity, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but think got to get this done. We have rules, we have regulations, we've got boundaries, we have things we need to do. But structure and containment, getting things done in a structured, contained, methodical way, because that's efficient. You know, we need those boundaries and rules to make sense of chaos. Like we need traffic rules, we need schedules, and those sort of rules and schedules actually are important, and not just for keeping chaos contained, but also for connection. Because if we don't have sort of schedules and containment and ways to kind of understand or relate to our environment and the world and time, then we can't have connection with others. So it's sort of the boring thing, right? Like there's a lot of boring things in life, but we need those boring things in order to enjoy the more happy, exciting things. Like we need to have a bedtime so that we can feel rested and live our lives rested and well. So the Emperor is about structure, boundaries that are necessary in order to live a good life. You know, very Capricornian, earthy, maybe a little fiery too. So yeah, where do we need the moon energy in our lives? Well, I think where these two cards meet, it's like bringing some intuition to the rigidity versus thinking it needs to be a certain way because it needs to be a certain way, kind of feeling into what feels right. Where can we shift and have flexibility in our rules and our schedules versus it just being a completely logical decision. So where do we need the moon, intuition, hidden truth, like looking below the veil, looking deeper? We need that in our sort of structured life, boundaried life. Now this card is also reversed. So when a card is reversed, there's like some maybe resistance to what is asked, or a resistance, like almost the opposite. So almost like, but I don't want to do it. I don't want to go to bed, or that maybe some resistance around boundaries or rules, or it could also be resistance around changing the rules. I think that's more what it is. It's resistance to rules, resistance to changing the rules, and like needing it to be completely like, this is how it is because it's tradition or whatever, you know. So a rigidity that is obsolete. So where it can help with that is, okay, feeling into balancing that rigidity with intuition. There's a concept from dialectical behavior therapy called wise mind, and it's bringing together the sort of logical mind and emotional mind together to kind of have both sides of things to make a good, clear decision that's in alignment. So think wise mind here. That's what's being asked is, so where do we need the moon, intuition, you know, looking a little bit deeper, looking what else is going on. We need that in our rules, regulations, structure, versus things just being structured and rigid for the sake of them being that way because they've always been that way. So a need for flexibility and intuition when making schedules and rules or maintaining them. Especially, you know, when this week it's Christmas week and a lot of people have traditions, or it has to be this way, or we need to get this one gift, but we always open gifts on Christmas Day, not Christmas Eve. Like, so there maybe are this type of year, there's a lot of traditions and like things have always been this way. So can you have flexibility and intuition into like maybe things being different this year or in general? Because it doesn't necessarily need to be the same always, or rigidly following a certain way of doing things. Because sometimes yesterday's tools, or last year's tools, or schedules, or ways of doing things don't really work for today, and needing to update and be flexible, especially when it comes to celebrations, because the point is to have joy and connection. And if a adherence to rigidity it's like the adherence to the way things are is more important than the connection, well, what's the point? What are we doing here, right? So allowing some intuition to inform your schedule and making your routines structure. Yeah. And then, as I like to do, I will pull another card. We're going to pull the card from the bottom. I'm curious if it's going to be another major arcana card. And, just going back to the Emperor too, it's more than just, I think, I related that a lot to traditions, especially with holidays. But generally, it could be New Year's, but generally, like maybe are you going into taking inventory of your year, going into your new year? Well, I have to do things this way because it's always been this way. I have to live in this neighborhood. I have to have this kind of job. I have to, X, Y, Z. Where are you just kind of an autopilot and following the template or how things have been just because that's how they've been? Can you bring in your intuition and get curious around how maybe things could shift? All right, so pulling our final card, and it is actually not a major arcana card. It's the Three of Wands. I feel like I've had this card multiple times, maybe just for myself, but I feel like I see this card a lot. Three of Wands, and it's reversed. Wands. Okay, so wands are about fire, manifesting, energy, passion. And three, if you think about three, like one is sort of an idea, two is planning, and three is taking action. And so there's sort of like an action. This is an action oriented, so making a plan towards some sort of new plan, like new idea. Okay, we've got this thing in the works, now let's actually start to implement it, execute it. And it's reversed, so there's some resistance. So, I mean, tying this into this card to what we have so far is so we need intuition in our lives, the moon energy, looking deeper when it comes to schedules, routines, boundaries, and kind of having some intuition, feeling into what feels aligned and good, not just following tradition. And then this card, perhaps it's like, okay, starting to think about executing something different, making a shift, but maybe resistance to that. Like, okay, sure, maybe we could do this instead, or maybe I could shake this up a little bit. But maybe there's still some resistance around actually making those changes. So I guess if this is speaking to anyone, I encourage you to just be gentle with yourself and really feel into why it's hard to make changes. Like, usually it's fear-based, and oftentimes that fear comes from like a younger place, like a little kid fear, or something scary that maybe felt emotionally unsafe or unsettling. And those are usually older. Those fears have been with us for a while. Like, I think I've quoted this before. TBM, this manifestation company I've talked about, they have shared this phrase of, if it's historical, it's hysterical. So like, where are you resisting change or shift, even if it's a positive thing, from fear? Like, what are you afraid would happen? So kind of getting curious around where is fear showing up around changing, shifting things that maybe need an update. So that is our reading for this week. We will continue our Fool's Journey series next week. I will see y'all then.